Hello, this is Benjamin Fulford speaking 2025. We are definitely heading for a big showdown, and hopefully there are signs that the real President Trump is back and he's ready to do what he was elected to do, but we'll see. But before we go any further, let's talk about this Charlie Kirk. So there can be no doubt that this is another case of Freemason street theater designed to manipulate public opinion. Now, I'd never heard of this Charlie Kirk guy until this whole so-called assassination took place, but I looked him up, and his five most controversial stands, according to the British newspaper Mirror, is that he's anti-gay, he's anti-black, he's opposed to gun control, that kind of thing. He's not talking about 911 truth or the Federal Reserve Board, hundreds of thousands of children. In other words, he's not saying anything that's outside of what he's told to say by his bosses. And so this is very clearly designed to manipulate public opinion and possibly start a race war to distract people from the real enemy. So we have a guy who, he's also attacking China, but basically this is not someone that they would really want to assassinate because of what he's saying. There's just nothing there. But if you look at this, these paid protesters in the next link, talking about white anger against, blacks, you can see they're trying to distract us with race riots. They're trying to get us to fight gay people and black people instead of going after the real enemy, which is the Khazarian mafia. And we're sick and tired of, a system of government that uses street theater to manipulate public opinion into things like wars. And it's just, this cannot continue. And also, since yesterday was the 24th anniversary of 911, I think I'd like to show you these two clips. One is a rare one where they're saying, the fireman is saying, we have to evacuate, there's a bomb in the building. This is after the planes crashed. So you watch this, and then watch Donald Trump at the time say this is obviously a bomb. Okay, listen to those two clips. So basically, we have a system of government that manipulates us into wars with staged events, and that's not how you run a government. That's not how you run a society. And the whole thing is that people need to realize the real problem is the Chabad cult, okay? And it is Satanism. It is people who are videotaped torturing and murdering children and then put in positions of power. For example, I have confirmed with both British intelligence and Mossad that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, now it's interesting that the UK ambassador to the United States was just fired for an involvement in Epstein Island. This is a sign that a crackdown is happening, but we do need to do something about this. And as we published, and other people published, the list of people who visited Epstein Island, the White Hats have announced a 100-kilo gold bounty on each visitor to Epstein Island. They must be arrested, and if they resist arrest, necessary force must be used. They must all be rounded up and questioned, because once these blackmailed politicians are removed, then the Zionists, and let's make it clear, the Zionists are responsible for the Holocaust, which was a sacrifice to Satan, a fire sacrifice to Satan, okay? They are the worst enemies of the Jews on earth, and the Jews are figuring this out, as you can see from this clip of a demonstration in the UK. So the Jews are waking up to the fact that their government has been, or their society has been taken over by Satan-worshipping criminals who have an ancient pedigree and have been enemies of Jews for thousands of years, and the rest of the West is waking up. But the big battle is still ahead of us. Next, I want you to listen to the witch Ursula von der Leyen saying it's time, to fight, because that's exactly what we need to do.
This summer showed us that there is simply no room or no time for nostalgia. Battle lines for a new world order based on power are being drawn right now.
Von der Leyen has publicly said, she said that when she said that she works by the Holy Talmud, which is what the Talmud says. Anyone who's not a worshiper of Satan will be killed. That's what they're saying. And this is what we're fighting for. And Ursula von der Leyen is one of the people who we need to remove. The rest, must be removed from power. And I'm hearing that's happening. Now, the hope we're having now is that we have a convincing video now of Donald Trump, the real one, appearing beside Melania Trump at the ceremony for 9/11. Melania's wearing 4-inch heels, so that would put her about the same height as Trump. And he's also speaking, so it's not just a guy in a mask, or if he is, he's got the voice. But he is saying that they're going to crush the enemies of the United States. And, more important, he says he's going to file RICO charges. That's anti-racketeering charges against the Soros Foundation and all those other foundations that pay for these riots, that stage these Freemason mind control events. So if you cut off their money, that's the key to everything. And remember, they've been contacting me saying, hey, well, you know what? We replaced Mark Zuckerberg Rockefeller with our clone, and now he's doing what we say. No, this is a huge corporation that was basically built using American taxpayer money, and it belongs to the American people. It needs to be nationalized, and then meritocratic processes can select a competent leader, not some clone put in by people in the shadows. This is the same of Google and all these high-tech companies. They are still trying to manipulate opinion, and they're still owned by the same people. Until they lose their control of the corporations, this nightmare is not going to end. That means you have to go after the foundations that control 90% of transnational corporations and the families that own them. This is how it's going to be done. That's why we're putting out bounties. We're going to start hunting them down. And I now want you to see that this looks like this revolution is going to start once again in France. Take a look at this clip of what's happening in France. The government has fallen. There are riots all over the place, and no matter what they try to do, they're bankrupt, and the current system is dysfunctional. So when France falls, that's the domino that's going to end the EU. And when the EU falls, then the current regime in the United States will no longer have the ability to survive financially, because the first thing they're going to do is stop buying expensive Rockefeller oil and get cheap oil from other places, including Russia. So this is the key. France is where it's going to happen. It's already happening, but we all need to take action. But the important thing for the people and the agencies and the military to understand is that your governments have been taken over, civilian governments have been taken over by a criminal syndicate known as Chabad Lubavitch, who have said, openly say they want to kill 90% of humanity and enslave the rest. These are facts. You can check them out. We need to remove these people from power. We need to remove their control of the Federal Reserve Board and the mega corporations, because that's it. That's endgame for them. And of course, Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be arrested as a war criminal, and then, if found guilty, hung. Or this is what we're fighting for. So we are in the middle of a war now, folks. It's getting hot, but don't let them manipulate you. Remember, the real enemy are not the blacks, they're not the gays, it's the people, the Chabad satanic cult, a battle that we have to all fight. And don't just be an armchair person. You can do it a lot just by picking up your phone and calling people, politicians, military, agencies, everybody. Just keep the pressure from the bottom up. Force them to remove the criminals who have seized power. All right, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week. Although, just finally, I want to include this funny video from the Taliban. They're encouraging tourism to Afghanistan. And personally, if I had the time, I'd love to go and visit. I think it's probably an interesting time to visit. So check it out.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have one message for America.
Okay, now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi, Ben. We have our first question for today. What do you know about the gossip related to doing a quantum financial system account and the dollar collapsing soon?
As I've said before, the quantum financial system is already in place, and that's why I can take a Canadian bank card and go anywhere on earth and go to an ATM or a convenience store and withdraw money in local currencies. Uh, the problem is that it's still under the control of the Rothschild family. It's not under the control of the inventor of this system, who is an ally of ours, but we're fighting to remove the Rothschild control of this system. But the dollar is not going to collapse simply because it's already controlled by the rest of the world. Okay, the world has stopped accepting new U.S. dollars printed in the U.S. as payment for trade or anything else. It's all backed now by real trade, and that's going to continue. The only thing though that we need to worry about is that the current regime in the United States is trying to sell everything they can to China in order to get more money to keep their show going. So the longer that we have this regime, the more China will get strong. That's why we need to remove these people, or we'll all end up working for the Chinese. It's just a matter of time. But the system's already there. The other thing I want to say is that there's not going to be any sort of dinar or Vietnam dong type of, or Zimbabwe dollar type of revaluation. This is a con job. But the white hats do promise a jubilee, and when it happens, it'll be done after very extensive public consultation. It'll be measured twice and cut once. Everyone will know about it, but it's not going to be some people get it. There's been these con artists who literally for decades are saying your check is in the mail. People are getting their money starting next week. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to work that way. So avoid those con jobs. Okay, next question.
Hi, Ben. It seems likely President Trump is is isolating because of the Iranian bounty to take him out. Could you speak a little bit about this?
Look, he does have genuine security concerns because the Iranians and the North Koreans and others have good reasons to want to get revenge for the murder of their leaders. But the important thing is that when you have to look at what the Trump you're seeing on our screens says and does. When you have the short, fat, ugly Trump, who's obviously fake, reading Israeli scripts, that's not the real man. So he can stay safe in his underground bases or whatever if necessary, but we need to see that he is in charge, and that means he's going to be taking down the Zionists. That's what the real Trump will do, because they're Satanists. And that's what we are going to hold his feet to the fire for. Go in there and arrest those people. You have the list from Epstein Island. Get them. Arrest them. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Can you give us some clarity on what exactly is happening with the IDF pushing further into Gaza, even with massive protests worldwide and inside Israel? Why hasn't the U.S. white hat, Russian, or Chinese military intervened and ended this horror show once and for all?
There's something about Gaza that does not pass my smell test. I'll be honest with you about that. They show every day, they put out pictures of cute little girls, but a lot of those pictures are from long before Gaza. And to be honest, I've been in Gaza in half an hour. Okay, and I think this whole thing is being prolonged deliberately to try to provoke a war between the Muslims and the Christians. So it's designed to get people angry and ready to fight each other, and that's what they want. They've said it for years. They want a third world war between Muslims and Christians. So, I'm very suspicious, but I know the Iranians and the Turks and other people and the Jews support the replacement of Israel with the nation state of Judea, which would be multi-ethnic and multi-religious, and that's where we're heading. So try to tune out of that Gaza stuff. It's definitely designed to get people emotionally charged into fighting each other. So it doesn't pass my smell test for many different reasons. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Is there any more news related to the releasing of the Epstein list? And do you think personally that we'll ever see it?
Well, I just released the list again last week. It's out there, but the real question is, will the government officially release it, which would mean they then have to go in and round up all these pedophile blackmail politicians, and that's what we need to push for. That's what needs to happen. So every politician who's voting against releasing the Epstein files is almost certainly being blackmailed by them. They need to be all arrested. This has to happen, and it will happen no matter what they try to do. This is not going to go away, and expect there will be no consequences. There will be ultimate consequences for this. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Last question for you today. In your opinion, is the fake Charlie Kirk assassination a direct attempt to incite the USA into civil war, given that his followers were young right-wing gun owners? Furthermore, is J.D. Vance in on it or potentially unaware as he accompanied Kirk's so-called casket back to Arizona today?
Well, we have to see how this unfolds, but we want to make it very clear that people should not be distracted into fighting each other. The problem is not coming from black people or LGTB people, despite all these LGTB shooters that they stage to try to, get us to fight each other. They're just trying to create divisions to distract us from the real enemy, which is the Chabad Lubavitch cult. Okay? They're saying openly, we have to go after them, we have to remove them. They can all be sent to the Kerguelen Islands or something, but they need to be removed from control of the Western political system, or we're going to just keep going to hell in a handbasket. All right. Well, that's it then.
I'm fine. Obviously, we as a community have been hit pretty hard on this, and um, I mentioned to a few folks, and I said it in a little post that I put out there that this is for this generation. I believe what Robert Kennedy's assassination was when I was young. Not quite the same as when President Kennedy was assassinated. There was this sense of hope in this election season. There was uh, uh, everything was condensing around Robert Kennedy's candidacy and what was happening, and so it was just so unexpected, so unanticipated. The height of the excitement of winning the California primary, and then to have it dashed so suddenly, unexpectedly, and it was kind of a 1-2 thing. And of course, um, from a from a different level than just the physical and in the spiritual realm, the devil himself. They didn't get Trump, but they did get Charlie. It's a defining moment. It um, it only increases our resolve to complete the mission that we're on. That he did such a beautiful job um, starting with. There was nobody really in that environment hard with the youth when he entered and began his work with Turning Point. I was very early supporter of Charlie Kirk, and there was things that we disagreed with. In fact, I went out of my way on one particular thing with the early voting to make sure that he and others around him knew that we had grave concerns about that. But that didn't change my resolve to support him and the people around him, because that was just a minor thing in the overall picture. His rallying people to a conversation about what life is like in America, what our religious life is as a people, absolutely fantastic. And he's my hero. He's one of the great heroes that we all will remember as we move forward. And, I think of like those great rockets that would take spacecraft up and even to the moon flights. In the early stages, breaking free of Earth's gravity is so hard. It's takes so much energy. These huge first stages uh, might be 80+% of the total weight of the rocket. And when they have run their course and break away, you are left with something. You're left with the momentum of all of their energy. Yes, it breaks away and falls back to Earth, but all of that energy is still with us. He brought us to this tremendous point where we could break away from Earth's gravity. All we have to do now is to just fire this next generation. They have to launch. They have to ignite and proceed forward with all of that energy that's stored in us, the kinetic energy moving thousands of miles an hour, free of the slowing down of Earth's oxygen, things like that, and go to new heights. And that's exactly what I believe we will do with the energy from his life. And, how many people think of every life in this audience, 32 years of age, to be able to accomplish so much in such a packed in time? Where were you at 32? Okay. Where were you? He burned hot and fast and accomplished a lot, and tremendous gift from God himself. And now it's up to us to help the next generation to ignite fire, take their part up with all that momentum. A very small amount of effort on our part with all that momentum, you can go to the stars. We're halfway to the stars right now.
Hey, Juan, several have texted me knowing that I work for you, and they said, with the supposed Russian drones that Russia says not theirs, and Article 4 being invoked by Poland, Ursula, State of the Union of the European Union, somebody in Trump orbit leaking his location at that restaurant last night, this happening to Charlie today, all around 9/11. Is there a symbolicness to all this?
Well, I think there's a desire to take the energy of a particular day to further villainize this moment of the year. The true birth date of Christ is regarded by many, and I agree with it, as 9/11, 3 BC. There's been very scholarly work. So why would that date be so valuable to the devil himself? Forget all the minions, okay? The devil himself is projecting through these people, puppeteering them. It's an important time of the year to turn our attention to something else and to win and own those moments. And, we are in a precarious fight situation. This is far from over. Trump winning the election was only a component of a much larger battle, and not just for America, but for the whole world. And so, today, for example, in the Congo, about 100 people have already lost their lives. Another 100 in addition to the 100 yesterday. Even though we're in supposedly a peace situation, there's still great drama going on. Great concerns next door in Uganda, where you have 2.5 million people and their food supply is about to be cut off. They're all refugees out of the Congo, half of them under the age of 18. Horrors, traumas, dramas that are less public are taking place. Even the deaths in the Ukraine. How many people died since Trump tried to get a ceasefire in place? Just a ceasefire, and we'll work out the rest of the details. Everybody hold a line. And that was not satisfactory to Zelensky and the people puppeteering him. Principalities and powers of darkness in high places, feeding the need, even the trauma in the hearts and minds of the people, to create fear. Um, what this moment in part reminds me of is the Tet Offensive in Vietnam. And a lot of people thought we were getting ready to kind of wind it down and pull back, and everybody thought we pretty much won the day. And then out of nowhere, the Tet Offensive took place, and they were in the streets in Saigon. It was a heck of a fight. And the older folks here in the audience will remember all of that. But in the midst of this huge fight, one of the commanders, his close friend, an aide, was killed by somebody essentially working undercover, a spy, and was assassinated. When the commander found out, they caught the guy who had killed his friend in the middle of the street. That very famous shot. You kill spies on sight. He had him stood up and put a bullet through his brains. And the reason I bring that up is because that was a defining moment in many ways of the whole Vietnam War. It was a pivot point because the devil and those monstrous agencies using mind control to move society, they need their trauma-based programming. And so an event like this, where it's so widely visible, part of the terrorism is to capture the minds with that moment that so defines everything that's taken place, like what happened in 9/11, that all of your thoughts from that point forward, all of your actions are somehow skewed, turned by that event. And it condenses your thoughts. It rallies your thoughts. And that's the way it'll be for this generation. I remember watching live as we saw the ruckus and the words, "He's been shot," with Robert Kennedy. And going from elation and excitement and thinking of the possibilities, having won California, to the absolute just shock. And I want to give the people in the audience, people across country, the moment to absorb and think about what just happened. There'll be all sorts of commentary and everything else, but maybe we don't get ahead of ourselves. I'm very thankful to have engaged with Charlie Kirk at different times, to have supported him. And it's actually a beautiful thing. I mean, it's like a piece of art in the life of our society for him to have influenced so many young minds and caused them to think again and to engage and to get into discussions. And that's what he was really doing. He's on the college campus. Over the last couple of days, there was at least 1,000, maybe many, many more, who had signed a petition to not allow him to speak at the college. And the college came out with the statement that, no, we are going to allow for open discussion and dissent, but we're going to have the conversation. And somebody couldn't even have a conversation. And within that spirit, even the demons themselves, the devil himself, look at what happened in the House.
Yeah.
Where there was a move by a couple of legislators to have a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk and his passing. And the Democrats wouldn't have it and shouted it down and screamed the venom, the vehemence that they expressed over not even being able to acknowledge a young father assassinated so publicly. See, that's part of it. Is the the terrorism to hearts and minds and souls when something traumatic like this happens, and how it leaves an imprint on the rest of your life. The devil meant this for evil and bad, but all things work together for good to those who know and love Christ Jesus. Okay? He was a believer. And while he's passed, he's now in that stadium of witnesses. The momentum, the energy from his life is with us. He'll get to observe, and we'll get to talk about it in Streets of Glory in time to come, how all of the energy from his life was used constructively by those of us that remain, and this generation of young lives, I'm sure, will repeatedly over the years and generations to come remember and recount how he influenced them to take a step forward, be part of public life, society, and shaping of society in beautiful, positive ways. And that's what I want to be thankful for, prayerful for today. And then, of course, young wife, young children, who will only see images and hear stories about their father, but will have very little actual memories to hold on to moving forward. And God's grace for them in everything that comes forward. And I know that we as a group, as a society, as the patriot movement, if you will not miss any chances to assist and support his wife and children and family as they go through this and move forward from this.
Amen. Amen. You said you sent this thing to me. I'm sure you sent it to Matt too, but it says Charlie Kirk is now the Robert Kennedy of this generation. For we battle not principalities and powers of darkness in high places. The intensity of his life and light are now burning more brightly than ever in the souls of the millions of young and old who have been touched by him in this world. The cleansing action of a million bright lamps burning in the souls of minds of those who are left behind to continue Charlie's work will relentlessly endeavor to eradicate every dark principality from all their roots and nests in the powerful and high places of our society and world. Let's thank our Father in heaven for every brilliant and beautiful moment Charlie Kirk was with us in this world. We'll meet him again, and we will all enjoy his company and infectious laugh soon enough when we walk together on the golden streets of our Savior's paradise. Godspeed, Charlie. You are my hero, Juan.
Yep.
Well, that's I knowing you and seeing a lot behind the scenes, I know that is in Juan, as you know him, that's genuinely from Juan's heart. And folks wanted me to ask you, Juan, based on what we saw with, the missiles supposedly coming from Russia, but maybe from Ukraine, Article 4 invocation, Ursula, State of the European Union, the leaking of Trump's location last night, is that how do we people now want vengeance, not just justice? How do we as a movement temper that and not descend into a second French Revolution, but rather a second American Revolution?
In combat, in battle, seasoned warriors operate differently than those that have just arrived. And part of the mindset, the imprint in a seasoned warrior and what they try to convey to the younger guys is that you have to be steady at the wheel. You have to be cognizant of the environment you're in. You can't, you know, I hesitate to say it, but I think it's an important visual. In the movie Born on the 4th of July, you have a young soldier on the battlefield in Vietnam. It's based on a true story. And his friend's head got shot off by a sniper. And he was so enraged that he jumped up and just started spraying the tree line, fully automatic in his M16. And a moment later, the sniper shot him. And he was alive but paralyzed. It took other people to be able to come get him, take him out, get him out of danger's way, and take him home, take him to where he was healed up, and he was unfortunately in a wheelchair the rest of his life. Even he would tell you that the emotion of the moment, he threw away wisdom, of clarity. He did something rash that in fact not only damaged the rest of his life, but endangered the people around him beyond just his friend. It was a horrible thing what happened to his friend. He is the one that allowed emotion to cause him to do something wrong. In combat, you can have horrible things happen. You still have to keep your wits about you. If you lose your sense of surroundings, your wits in the middle of the combat, you too can become a victim unnecessarily. There's a saying in the Marines, Matt, you know it. The only good Marine is a live Marine. You do things to stay in the fight, and you don't do stupid things at a critical moment. You have to work your way through, think your way through, keep your wits about you, because one foolish move, one unthought move, and you can be taken out or put others around you in great danger. You've got to work the problem. You know, you hear test pilots when an aircraft that they're testing is going through some monstrous failure. The reason they get to become test pilots at all in the first place is because they can still keep working the problem, thinking their way through, gathering further information for the next guy in case they don't make it, and by keeping processing, working the problem, they have a better chance of making it. If they just throw their hands up and cry and scream, well, they're definitely not going to make it. So, and there's no guarantees here. Look, I've said there's a near-death experience ahead for America, and I believe that's still out there. In fact, when it was looking like we might get this situation in Ukraine with Russia, you know, calmed down, now it's only doubling down, and the threats are getting greater and greater. I've said all along it's going to be like the Cuban Missile Crisis. And Lavrov repeated my words. He's in the camp where we communicated with other people. Even today, I'll tell you that I know of communications out of Russia that were completely unexpected, with whistleblower information coming in related to our situation with Russia. It's a very sensitive situation. I was actually pretty shocked that, you know, this reaching out, I was one of the first people called because of some of my history. But the point is, we're in a perilous moment, and we need to prayerfully consider every next move, even our conversations with the people around us. If we sound like, you know, Chicken Little and the sky is falling, it's the end, I think it does a disservice to such a great warrior as Charlie Kirk. Think of all the vitriol, you know, the thousands of people that didn't want to let him speak at the university and other places he's been. He knows he's going into a contentious environment, and yet he's willing to have a conversation and answer questions. And
And he
be
wanted to
present.
especially speak to folks who did not agree with him. He said, if you disagree with me, come to the front.
Exactly. Okay. And that's what the devil and his crew cannot allow. They can't even allow the beginning of the discussion. I was just on the phone with Nino a few minutes ago, and he was asking what's going to happen next and how's this going to pivot and it's going to change the world and it's a defining thing and all of that. And what I had to say to him, I said, um, we're not going to be like the other guys. We're in a different moment here. This is the moment when a different emotion will come from us. It's a resolve. And from those that had listened to and heard Charlie Kirk during all of his ministry, all of his work, because it really was a ministry, he was for cooler heads, calmer thoughts, a conversation. Come let us reason together. That's what he was doing. Come let us reason together. If you disagree, let's talk it out. You see, the devil wants us to live in his hell, even here in this world, in this earth. But what is hell? Hell is a place where reason doesn't exist. There is no reason. With the all who want to be saved, to be reconciled with God our Father in heaven, can be. The scripture says God desires that none should no reason to find yourself in hell a few breaths after you leave this world. Yet, hell is a place where reason doesn't exist. There is no reason. Imagine all these people that think that they're having an important, sound conversation, in jail. People like Charlie Kirk should be shut up, even assassinated. Their voice should be stopped forever. That's unreasonable. And they think they're having an intelligent conversation. What the problem for them is when they reach hell and they're trying to reason their way through it, there will be no sanity. There will be no reason. There will be no clarity in hell. They will be in a place forever crying out to God, and God doesn't hear them. To, let me out. I did this. I was doing that. I didn't understand. Nobody's listening, because anything that comes back is unreasonable. That's the demons. That's the hellishness of hell. A place where there's no coherent thought. That's when you're in constant pain. Anybody that's been in horrible pain, it's hard to even think straight. And there is no reason. There is no sanity. There is no coherency. No logic in hell. This is an illogical action. It's a hellish action. It's a mark of the demons, the principalities that are trying to own this world, and we will fight them. The war with logic, soundness of mind, and by the hand of God, wisdom, clarity, purity, justice. Justice is coming, and in every situation across the world, that's how we'll win.
That's a lot, because we got a lot going on right now. Looks like there's a lot going on with the cartels. There's a lot going on in Venezuela. There's a lot going on all over this world, and things have definitely ramped up just over the last little bit. Do you have any thoughts on that? What we should expect like that?
Well, one of the places that nobody's looking at right now, Ecuador has gone into the early stages of a civil war. It's become unglued. Brazil